Smoke is still emanating from some shops destroyed by fire at the Opera Square. Firefighters spent quite some time battling Monday's fire, which engulfed several shops at the Central Business District. Checks by JoyNews this morning showed some of the affected shop owners were yet to return to the fire scene to salvage their wares. Some officials who spoke to JoyNews also complained about the difficulty in accessing the building and their fire hydrant. Let's first hear from the affected persons and then the fire personnel as well on their challenges.
And say, the fire service for no abaso owa yade na process for so abaye ayade na dey say China Lebanese na China fo bi wa de bia ya so well dey ade was ro de bia o well dey ade e na jato mu eti won na kwaso fire no because adan ya ka ahoho asam a ebinum mpre wo brodi a waba adwuma no nya wadwuma kofa wada papa no ameye dey say da bia on ye dey di kan bebo fire service for na baso won wa ya dey di kan
na o say o well dey o mo say wo hu da
yes bisa on nyina o well di gate on si da bia na obeye da bia o ye na ra o ye no o wo soro ti won wa hu ejade top no anu hwirisi form.
Okay, and the chairman in your manner, okay, so what this woman was basically saying was to applaud the fire service and the Ghana Police Service for the work they've done here. She's also blaming the foreigners who are allegedly the owners of the warehouses up there for the activities they've been doing. According to her, they hear that the foreigners have been doing some welding activities, and it is as a result of that the fire broke out there. Now, almost stores I say ohono omo ya profuna na say mu be so mo de ka ho
before no be de ka ho but fakase na ye Chinese for na soro ho na ye omo de no
enti no Ghana for no omo de say no omo he fa abrofo no so omo he
abrofo na no pay de ye hu omo ha ba Ghana ni no one moro ono so around na onenam ha
moro
bebre Ghana for no bebre wholesale e wosoro afi na won wate a won wo boba eti China for na welding niam no on na ye cause of problem ni nyina won da bia ye ka hoho asem a won ma ya kwan e de akofa ba no eti de di kan me bo won aba so
hold on
enso no so a de fight eja no so adoso enti ama shops no so e what down na eja na ankom no enso no so afrade mu I say eniema no e wo under
entino den na mo be
ye hwese nkeja na be kofom na ye betimi abie shops no na ya hwe kwan ya betimi afa so na ye si ano ensuo ne so aba inside no ene council a bebe money ade but said ye ma me di kan ye bo fire service for aba so pa esan say finra and rebels 430 no ene Ghana police said nra chief fire officer ankasa na o ha regional commander na o ha nadmo penye
into no store de kan ho be na share
ya me share by ensuo na akom me shop and share MP said the medical can ye hwese ejana beba from na fe ye bia akwan e befa so afi ye be hu de ensu ase no ne de ensay no
so basically what they are saying is that the warehouses up there, some belong to Ghanaians, but a lot of them belong to the Chinese, and but we are not able to tell exactly the destruction because those who are directly affected have not come around as of yet.
Our men are using every mechanism possible. The unfortunate thing is that we have hydrants here, and unfortunately people have built on these hydrants, and also the hydrants are not flowing. Ghana Water has not been giving us water, and this is something that whenever we raise becomes an issue, but there's no water flowing through the hydrants. So our men have to go way far as Circle, as far as Osu and all, just to go and replenish and come back.
Now, the challenge of illegal structures sitting on fire hydrant has been an age-old problem the service has been grappling with. The problem came up again in yesterday's fire incident, with the service committing to work with the various assemblies to demolish those structures. How appropriate is it for us to be discussing this challenge now, and how feasible and sustainable is the move to demolish the structures? Head of Public Relations at the Ghana National Fire Service, Assistant Chief Fire Officer Timothy Osafo-AFFUM, is my guest on this show for some answers. Good morning to you, sir, and thanks for your time. First of all, it's almost 12 hours since the fire broke out. Any idea what could be the cause?
Well, thank you very much. I think we finally extinguished the fire early this morning. And so now that we have begun full-scale investigation, so I will not be able to pinpoint exactly what the cause of the fire is. So once we have initiated investigations, we'll be able to come out with the actual cause of fire.
Chief, we've been talking about illegal structures. Why are we still talking about the challenge of illegal structures as of now?
Illegal structures as of?
I mean, as we speak, we are still talking about illegal challenges, illegal structures sitting on fire hydrant. Why is this conversation still happening when I remember about a year ago there was a fire outbreak and we're talking about the fact that fire hydrants, as people have built on them? Why is it that we're still talking about these when we could have probably moved to correct this? Hello, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. We as a service don't have power. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you, sir. Go on.
Hello? Yes. So what I am saying is we as a service do not have the power to move anybody from any location.
Okay.
It is the responsibility of the assemblies. And so we are working with the assemblies to ensure that this is actually put into place.
Well, it is something we do here anytime this discussion about fire hydrants comes up, that we will be working with the assemblies. But it looks like every time there's a fire outbreak, we need to come back to this same discussion. And then we hear we are working with the assemblies. When will this work be completed?
Yes, like I said, if the power were to be in our hands, this would be a one-day affair to finish it. But once the power is not in our hands, we need to collaborate with the key stakeholders. And so if any of them is not ready, it means the job cannot be done. So that is the situation on the ground.
So the challenge is that some of these organizations or stakeholders are not ready. Hello, sir.
Exactly so. Because, for instance, if a market is located, hello, am I clear?
Yeah, you are clear.
Hello?
You are clear,
hello?
Sir.
Yes. So what I am saying is, for example, if a permit has been given to someone to build on a fire hydrant, how do you go back and move the same person you have given a permit to build on a fire hydrant? So it then becomes a difficult issue to deal with. But if the person has not been given a permit, then it becomes very easy to move the person. But once you have given the person a permit, then it becomes difficult to move the person from the location that you have assigned the person.
Okay, and that's why I was asking whether the assemblies are not cooperating with you to ensure that all these persons who have built on hydrant have been moved. Is that the case, that they are not cooperating with you?
The assemblies are cooperating, not the major stakeholders are cooperating. But the issue is what I have told you. Sometimes permits are issued without people going to inspect the actual situation on the ground. So once you have issued a permit to somebody to build or to construct a structure, how do you go back to tell the person that I am revoking the permit I gave you? So that becomes a challenge for the assembly to deal with.
Do we even know the exact number of hydrants under illegal structures?
Yes, we have a fair idea of structures that have been encroached upon.
And how many are we looking at?
In Accra alone, we are talking in the region of about between 50 and 60.
And countrywide?
countrywide, it runs into the hundreds.
Okay. Now, can you take us through what the service has done in the past or is still doing about this problem? Hello, sir. Are you with me?
Right. What we have and coming up with is that we do mechanized boreholes. This will make water readily available to us, because once you wake up in the morning and you turn on your taps and the taps are not flowing in your area, it means that should there be any fire emergency, when we get there, we will not get water to work. So it is either we resource the Ghana water adequately to supply adequate water for all of us, so that we as a fire service can also get water to do our job. Okay. Or we go by this borehole issue that I am talking about.
Now, how sustainable is your quest to collaborate with the assemblies to demolish the said structures? As you said, in Greater Accra, over 60 hydrants have been built over.
Yes, so you realize that Accra, we have different assemblies. So we are dealing with all the assemblies to ensure that those that can be demolished are demolished. Those that cannot be demolished, we see how we can relocate the hydrant to a different place.
All right. For the first time, I have heard traders who are really commending the fire service. I mean, from yesterday, they did, today, they are still commending you. What has changed?
I think because of our education, they now understand our job. And that is what has changed their perception of what we have been doing. Then also, we have also deliberately ensured that the moment we get there and you do a quick assessment of the situation and you notice that you alone cannot do bring the situation under control, you request for assistance. Okay. And so yesterday, we mobilized as many fire appliances as possible to that area. And that also explains the reason why they are commending us.
All right, sir. Keep it up. We'll see how this takes us. ACFO Timothy Osafo is the National Communications Manager for the Ghana National Fire Service. Now, an amount of $412 million is needed to execute the 5-year National Malaria Strategic Plan aimed at eliminating malaria in Ghana. The said amount would be channeled into interventions to reduce malaria mortality by 90%, reduce case incidence by 50%, and achieve malaria pre-elimination in at least 6 districts by 2025. The National Malaria Control Program Manager Dr. Kezia Mam announced this at the commemoration of this year's World Malaria Day in Hohoi in the Volta region. This year's commemoration theme is Advance Equity, Build Resilience, and Malaria.
Despite several interventions being implemented to fight malaria, including the introduction of vaccines, it remains the #1 cause of outpatient attendance in Ghana. According to the Ghana Health Service, 5.7 million malaria cases were recorded in 2021, with Ghana listed among the 11 countries with the highest malaria burden worldwide. The National Malaria Control Program therefore launched the National Malaria Strategic Plan in 2021 to fight the deadly disease caused by the Plasmodium parasite transmitted by the bite of an infected mosquito. The 3 main goals of the 5-year program are to reduce malaria mortality by 90%, reduce case incidence by 50%, and achieve malaria pre-elimination in at least 6 districts by 2025. However, speaking at the commemoration ceremony of the 2022 World Malaria Day in Hohoi, the National Malaria Control Program Manager, Dr. Kezia Mam, announced that her outfit is financially handicapped in implementing the strategic plan.
There are challenges, however. Currently, with the strategic plan, we have a gap of about $412 million for us to be able to fully implement that plan. We also need to ensure that we promote the advancements of newly proven interventions and scale it up to optimal levels.
Now, still on malaria control, the Western region has been named as the first region in Ghana with the highest malaria prevalence rate according to the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in malaria. The Western and Volta regions alone accounted for 47.4% of the country's prevalence rate. The Western region alone contributes 27% of malaria cases in Ghana. The statistics has called for an all-hands approach to reduce the malaria prevalence in the region. In Athalia, Konsa has more.
Despite the region being the second highest malaria epicenter, some MMDAs in the region are doing their best to mitigate the morbidity and mortality malaria cases to zero. One of such municipalities is the Prestia Honey Valley municipality, which has recorded zero malaria cases of mortality since 2019. The Municipal Health Director, Joseph Kwame Sampson, speaking to JoyNews at the sideline of this year's World Malaria celebration organized by the Goldfields Ghana Foundation, he said malaria cases in the municipality has reduced significantly in the past 5 years due to the adherence of malaria preventive measures by the residents.
The proportion of cases as in 2019 was 44%. This reduced to 36% in 2000 and then further reduced to 30% in 2001. For admissions, we looked critically at the children under 5 and we realized that proportionally it was around 50% throughout, meaning that we're not seeing much in the drop of admissions, but for the OPD. And for death, for the last 2 years, we've not recorded any death. An indication that some of the interventions that have been taken by the populace and even also the caregivers in some way had worked. Because it is just a 2-year positive improvement, we can say it is significant. It is significant in the sense that our ultimate goal is to ensure that we have zero deaths.
World Malaria Day is marked annually on 25th April to focus global attention on malaria and its devastating impact on families, communities, and societal developments, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. This year's theme, harnessing innovation to reduce the malaria disease burden and save lives. Here is Community Affairs and Stakeholder Engagement Manager of Goldfields Diamond Mine, Abdul Razak Yakubu, on why Goldfields Foundation chose to educate 300 pregnant and nursing mothers in their host communities on the need to adopt innovative approach towards zero malaria records.
The statistics given by the director centered on deaths, which they haven't recorded any in quite some time. But then the prevalence rate is not so encouraging compared to other areas. And even then, we don't want to lose our focus. Malaria is such a condition that if you take your eye off the ball for just a second, especially when it has to do with sanitation, you will be taken unawares. So Goldfields Foundation, as part of our health interventions in the community, we still pay particular attention to malaria. This event was more or less an education or training session, but then the main intervention is in our water and sanitation programs that we do, ensuring that our communities are clean in order not to breed mosquitoes at people's backyards. Yeah. So we don't just have to depend on the traditional way of preventing malaria. Let's combine all the approaches, keeping our environments clean, getting rid of mosquitoes, sleeping under treated nets, and let's also add the use of repellents, among other things, to fight the pandemic.
The women were presented with mosquito repellents as an introduction to new innovation. For JoyNews, in Athalia, Kwanza, Western Region.
Now, the paramount chief of the Ogoa traditional area of Saberima Kwesiata II is wooing British investors to invest in Cape Coast to develop the Asian capital of Ghana. According to him, the history between Cape Coast and the people of Britain warrant something more significant for both countries to celebrate and enjoy the fruit that come with them. He was addressing the British ambassador to Ghana on her visit to the Emintimaze Palace in Cape Coast. My colleague Richard Kojonyako has more in the following report.
Osabre Makwesiata II, the Omahine of the Ogwa traditional area, says the city of Cape Coast yearns for more British participation to boost the trade and commerce of the area. He first wants the British ambassador to help the authorities of the city to turn the Victoria Park into a mini tourism site that could attract many to learn about Queen Victoria of England and her relationship with the Cape Coast city. More importantly, he says the city needs more companies from Britain to invest in Cape Coast for a win-win partnership.
You know that Cape Coast is the hub of tourism. We are open to any British company or any British individual who will help us to develop tourism, especially in Cape Coast and in Ghana in general. So again, that is the second one. And I hope that very sooner rather than later, we will communicate and then we start the ball rolling. When you go back with good memories of Cape Coast, especially Central Region. So we look forward to our collaboration so that it will be a win-win affair for all of us.
The British ambassador, Harriet Thompson, assured there was more UK participation in the socio-economic life of the people of Ghana. She indicated a lot was being done to roll out more business and infrastructure support for Ghana.
We heard about the infrastructure needs. The infrastructure is a sector where British companies have traditionally been very heavily involved in Ghana. So I hope that there are some opportunities here that we can get people involved in. We talked about tourism, and from even my short time here, it's clear how much potential there is in the tourist sector. I was in the UK recently with His Excellency the President to launch Destination Ghana that aims to get more tourists coming to Ghana from around the world, particularly from the UK, from my perspective. And I would love to get some of the people who are involved in that more aware of the opportunities that there are in this region to see how we can help develop that.
Central Regional Minister Justina Marigold Asan outlined some of the interventions government had rolled out in building a more robust ICT human resource base.
Thankfully, I know the basic schools and the secondary schools are now having access to internet. Universities too are having it. So it's just up to us to also monitor what they are doing. So in terms of capacity for our staff to do that mandate of them monitoring properly and then giving feedback is very, very important. But for the ministry, they are doing their part in terms of ICT training for girls. I know boys are also part of it, but for girls, we really want to bridge the gap. So the girls training for ICT is very, very much impactful, and they are doing it all across the country. So that's one. The government is doing so much to support ICT training in the various levels.
The regional minister and the British ambassador talked about some of the solutions in relation to teenage pregnancy. The region is currently placed third among the 16 regions in terms of teenage pregnancy. Reporting for JoyNews, Richard Kojonyako, Cape Coast.
Although shea butter is a product in high demand, the procedure involved in processing it is very long and tedious. But even then, women at the community level who labor to produce shea sometimes do not get the right price for their product. With the emergence of yellow shea butter, a new product which contains medicinal ingredient, the Widows and Orphans movement, which has been training women in shea butter processing as a way of economically empowering them, is asking government to support the women with machinery and a regulated market where they can get competitive prices for their product. Here's a report by Upper East Regional correspondent Albert Sorry.
Inside the Widows and Orphans Movement Training Center here at Pusinamu in the Talensi district of the Upper East Region, these women gather to begin the processing of yellow shea butter. They will be processing 1.5 bags of shea nuts into yellow shea butter. First, they must select out the bad nuts.
Remove all the black nuts. Any foreign object that is inside the nuts, you remove it. Then after that, we carry it outside and we do our washing. Then after we wash, we just dry it for some time, then we crush it again. We do the crushing.
Maimunatu Musa has been processing shea butter for many years. She is here today to train these women in how to make yellow shea butter. After washing and drying the nuts and then crushing them, the job of the first day is done. The next day, the crushed shea nuts are steamed. Herbs from the turmeric plant are then added, and the mixture is milled into a paste. Day 3. The shea nut paste is taken through another process, kneading. This process separates the butter from the shea nut residue. Next, the butter is boiled for about 2 hours. It melts into oil. The oil is then poured into a plastic jerry can and stirred intermittently for the next 2 hours. Left overnight, the oil solidifies back into butter. In this case, the turmeric plant added gives the butter a yellow color. It has taken 4 days for these women to process 1.5 bags of shea nuts into yellow shea butter.
Yes, we have different clients. Some clients, they want yellow butter. And the plants that we use for the yellow butter is medicinal. You can eat it. You can use it as your pomade. It's good.
Maimunatu is, however, unhappy about the quantity of butter they got after days of hard work.
When we weigh it, it will be 1 box. It's 25 kg. This one, looking at this one, it looks as if we ran into loss because we sort up black nuts, the breaking ones, remove the ones with the shells. So it was plenty.
There were many bad nuts.
Bad nuts. So this one, to be honest with you, when we sell, we won't be able to make profit.
4 days of hard work, and there is a chance these women will not make any profit on the butter they produced. And this is even with the help of the machinery here at the Widows and Orphans Movement Training Center. For the women in the rural areas who do not have access to this kind of machinery, shea butter processing could take them weeks. Director of the Widows and Orphans Movement, Fatih Abigail Abdullahi, says there is more demand for shea butter now that the yellow type is also emerging, and this will help economically empower more women in the country.
When women are economically empowered, they are able to resist abuses, but more importantly, they are able to meet the family needs. In recent times, the organization has had orders for yellow shea butter. However, our women groups were not able to produce yellow shea butter because they didn't have that skill. We approached one of our donors in Germany called Paul EV, and they supported us with some funds to carry out this 4-day training.
She believes that the women who engage in shea butter processing need support with machinery and a regulated market where they can get premium prices for their products.
We equally look at how we can reduce the drudgery associated in producing shea butter. Shea butter making is actually laborious, like it's a difficult task. We, together with other organizations, have been calling upon the state to actually provide some support services to these women groups, especially in terms of machinery, but equally helping to regulate the market prices of these butters, because you can imagine if they go through all these difficult process and they do not get a good market price for the product.
For these women, it is a daily struggle to meet their customers' demands for profits that are not as good as they should be. They are, however, hopeful that with time, things will change for the better. Albert Sorry, JoyNews, Pusinamo, Talense District.
All right, so from that very beautiful story, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more news.
It's time now for business. I am Beverly Broom, the chairperson of the agribusiness at the Association of Ghana Industries. Fatima Ali Mohammed has reiterated the need to engage the youth in agribusiness. According to her, young people have the potential to develop ideas that are agri-based to propel the development of the sector. She spoke to the media at the Ghana Agriculture and Agro-Processing Awards. There's more in the following report.
The Ghana Agriculture and Agro-Processing Awards brought together players in the agriculture sector and recognized their achievement from local and international companies. According to AGI's chairperson of agribusiness, Fatima Ali Mohammed, the sustainability of the sector depends on investing into the youth to develop innovative ideas to support the sector.
And the youth are hustlers because they're fed up of seeing what their parents have gone through, what their grandparents have gone through, and they don't want to remain poor forever. And that's the reason a youth is able to put their hand in 5 different projects. Even if one fails, he's got another 4. If 4 fail, he's going to try something else. So we need to use what the youth think about. They're great at technology. They're great in terms of creating apps, solutions, financial banking. Right now, banks are no longer relevant. If you look at the financial apps, the youth, I know one guy who I'm mentoring and is moving $9 million. $9 million. He's a Nigerian partnered with a Ghanaian, and they're moving $9 million in an app of just doing cross-border transaction. So if we can start getting the youth to think of solutions that are agri-based and put in awards, put in incentives, let the government come and say that we're going to be giving prizes for this kind of amount or whatever, it will give them a reason, because projects start with $20,000, $50,000. I mean, that's not big money. You just come in and say, we're willing to invest in your opportunity, or get people to come in and say, we'll come together as businesses, invest in them, and let the youth do it, because the youth are the future.
Some winners for the night were elated and called for more investment in the agricultural sector.
Farmers make a lot of difference. If you are sufficient and self-sufficient in the food, I think every country will survive. And that is necessary for Africa, in my opinion. So I think the government should encourage and support, other than supporting importers.
Ghana Export Promotion Authority is very excited to receive the award yet again for the second time. We are happy because you have recognized the good work we are doing for the agri sector. If you look at the non-traditional export earnings, the agri sector is a very important sector for us, because it's a sector that employs a lot of women and youth and a lot of people in the country, thereby helping Ghana to reduce poverty amongst the youth and women.
The awards recognize the industry's merit and set a benchmark for excellence.
The Ghana Bankers Association is calling for new measures to help reduce the unbanked population, as well as increase savings for national development. It therefore wants the design of specific products to boost investment in the financial sector. So how are banks responding to this request by the Bankers Association? The following report has more.
With growing changes in consumer taste, stakeholders in the financial sector have advocated the creation of specific products to meet customer needs. Even though the Bank of Ghana has encouraged diversity in the banking sector to support the real sectors of the economy, the challenge is yet to be taken on. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of the Prominence Banking product by UMB, the Managing Director Nana Jumo Bene said the bank is responding to such challenges to meet specific customer demands.
Well, some of the new additions that you see here is that we've done some strategic partnerships with a few of the car companies. We have a few of the real estate companies. All these other ancillary benefits have come based on the feedback from our clients as to what other areas they would want us to sort of add, because we aim to do like a one-stop shop. So that's part of the features that have come, where the feedback is now informing how we add more and enhance the banking operations that they have. This is the first of many relaunches, because we have various customers in various segments, and as we go and we speak to them and they give us their feedback for their specific needs, then we incorporate it in the propositions we offer to them, and then relaunch it to them so that then they see that we're actually listening. It's our way of saying thank you for those who've banked with us for decades and years.
With existing banks currently meeting the new capital requirements, Nana Bene is hopeful banks will continue to churn out new products to satisfy specific areas of the economy, like UMB has done with the launch of the Prominence Banking product. The Prominence Banking will put high-income earners under categories that will enable them enjoy special services from the bank.
That's all for business. We have more business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com.
All right, welcome back from the break. News coming in from the Supreme Court indicates that the Supreme Court has dismissed the review application involving the case about the voting right of a deputy speaker. My colleague Joseph Akable is at the Supreme Court and joins me live on the line with some update. Joseph, good morning and thanks very much for your time. What is the latest, or what are the details of this particular ruling?
And so, I mean, for clarity, this is the March 9 decision, that very decision that was quite controversial because of the reactions that came out, Samuel. The decision that indicated that a Deputy Speaker of Parliament, while presiding over parliamentary proceedings, has the right to vote, and also the fact that in terms of counting members of Parliament for a decision-making process, the Deputy Speaker can be counted as part of that quorum formation. And in that decision, you recall the Supreme Court made a distinction between ordinary deliberations and the voting quorum that is required by the court. And so after that decision, the private legal practitioner who filed this particular matter, Justice Abdullahi, indicated that he was going to seek a review of that decision at the Supreme Court. And so the court heard oral arguments today and afterwards delivered its ruling. The court effectively says that the arguments that have been advanced before it does not give it a reason why it should depart from the stated position that a deputy speaker retains the voting right and can be counted as part of the quorum formation. And so the Supreme Court has a unanimous decision. So the initial decision was also unanimous. It was a 7-0 decision. 2 judges joined this particular panel, and they've also returned a 9-0 decision indicating that the deputy speaker reserves the right to vote as well as can be counted as part of the quorum formation for decision making.
So where do we go from here?
I mean, this is the end of the road by way of anyone who has any disagreements about what the situation should be, whether a deputy speaker should vote or not. I interacted with the Deputy Attorney General, Diana Sunabadapa, a short while ago, and she says that as far as they are concerned, they are satisfied with this particular decision because it was a position that this matter was not one that could succeed to a review action. Because of the limited nature of a review, you are simply pointing the court to an obvious error, showing them new material that were not available to the court initially. For Mr. Abdullahi, he says he's not surprised, even though he had expected that the decision would go in his favor. And his not being surprised comes out of the fact that it was a Herculean task in that the initial ruling was by a 7-0 decision. So he will require more to change the minds of the 7 judges in addition to the 2 that will be joining the panel, and that indeed join the panel. And so this is by end of the way, by way of litigation on this particular matter.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your time. That's my colleague, Joseph Akable, joining us from the Supreme Court there. Now, Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Yao Ado, says the only way to deal with the crisis facing the soybean industry is to increase production. This comes on the back of a JoyNews documentary which highlighted the plight of processing factories because of the lack of raw materials. Speaking on the AM show this morning, Mr. Yao Frimpong said industry players should hope for the better.
Soybean is in such high demand, and when we don't have the quantities that will bring the price up naturally, the price will go up. It's such high demand everywhere in the world. So as I indicated, I sympathize with our processing. But that's not to say that we should throw our arms in the air in this way. We should encourage ourselves. I mean, we are going to the planting season. We should encourage ourselves to go and do more. The ministry is taking delivery of some agri mechanization equipment, and hopefully, we are going to expand a lot of such production levels in the savannah areas. And maybe next year we will be seeing the difference of the ministry taking delivery of agri mechanization equipment right now for distribution to the areas that we need the most. And we are going to distribute this to the areas. And therefore, I am of high hope that production is going to go up. And once production goes up in the cities that produce lots of soya beans, maybe just as I said, we'll be sending the difference of come next year around the same time. We have to increase production. There's no other way. We have to increase production because on the international market, the price is so high. So we need to look inward and produce more here.
Yafrin Poado is Deputy Minister for Agriculture. We'll take a quick break. When we return, sports.